And we are back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast, bringing you our third segment, which is going to be talking about Miami Marlins outfielder Avisail Garcia being DFA'd by his team, and just talking about overall the Marlins and what I think of this move. So, was this move a surprise? Is the first thing I think we have to ask. Yes and no. I mean, play uh, play wise, Garcia has deserved this. He has a 78 weighted runs created plus this year for the Marlins. Been hurt. He's really been hurt throughout his Marlins tenure. Going back to 2022, he had a 63 weighted runs created plus 63, and he played a significant time as well, 98 games. 2023 only played 37 games, and then had 46. And this year has 78. So picked it up a little bit, but still absolutely awful. So I think Garcia, there's no real problem saying that this is a bad move by the Marlins. Of course, it's a good move. He's been really, really bad. So I'd say that him being DFA'd is not a surprise in that way. But at the same time, it is a surprise because you're now paying around $25 million left for 2 years on his contract to have him not play for your team. And it's not like you're a big market team like the Mets who can just eat money all over and just it doesn't matter. You're the Marlins, and I understand this is a bad contract and you're cutting your losses, but it is still interesting and shows how bad Garcia was with the Marlins that they're just simply eating his contract, and that's just it. So it's very, very interesting to see, and overall, I think it was a good move by the Marlins. I think if you're the Marlins right now, you're in a place of shifting out the old and getting in the new. If you're Peter Bendix, you want to shift out players of the old regime and bring in your own guys. We already saw with their best player, I'd say, Luis Arias, who got shipped out, even though he's a great player, he got shipped out early, probably because he just wasn't a Bendix player. He wasn't a guy that Bendix acquired. We're going to see a lot of players from the old regime, Kim Heng, get shipped out at the deadline. You're going to have guys like Jake Berger, like Josh Bell, who were big additions last year at the deadline, get shipped out. You may see a Jesus Luzardo get shipped out. We had a segment on him if you want to go on the channel and try to find that. So overall, I think it was a good move by Bendix to get Garcia out and kind of just cut your losses here. Probably one of the worst contracts in Marlins franchise history. I'm not going to go as far as to say it's the worst contract in base. It's one of the worst contracts in baseball history because it really wasn't that large. But at the same time, just play wise, yeah, it was really, really bad. Garcia was absolutely horrible at the Marlins. There's really no ifs and or buts about it. He was absolutely awful, and this DFA was well deserved. He's also had some off the field stuff in the past as well. But yeah, I just think this is a good move by the Marlins. Again, get rid of him, kind of cut the dead weight, and try to move your franchise in a direction where you're getting out with the old, in with the new, of the new players of this new regime. So it is going to be interesting to watch and see, and I'm very interested to see where it does go from here. Now, this Marlins team is so interesting going at the deadline. There's so many players that could be traded. First of all, you look at the rotation. We had a segment on it. I'm not sure if that video uploaded. I was having some problems. But I talked a whole segment about Jesus Luzardo and the possibility that he gets traded. Now, Ken Rosenthal, who of course is one of the most reliable people in the industry, talked about how Luzardo is the most likely player to be traded at the deadline, which was kind of a surprise to me. I thought there was a good chance he'd be traded, but the most likely player is kind of crazy to me. Now, it makes a lot of sense for the Marlins to end up trading Luzardo. I think that with how good he is, you do have a good amount of control, and just the way your team is not going anywhere, it makes sense to get the value you can for a really good player like Luzardo, and that's what they're going to plan on doing, I'd say. So, as I talked about, there's going to be a lot of teams lining up for him. Orioles, Yankees, Pirates, Rangers, so many teams, I think, are going to try to end up trading for Luzardo. It's going to be interesting to see, and that's a player I'm really, really interested in watching at the trade deadline and seeing where he does end up going. After that, you of course have Josh Bell, who came over last deadline for the Marlins, had a really big spark for this team. Hasn't done it great this year as well, but I think could be a good platoon bat for a team. And if you need a first baseman, your first baseman gets injured, you just need a good depth bat. I think Bell provides a lot of value there. Jake Berger is a player I also really like. I thought that the trade last year was good, but with them going more into a rebuild now, I don't think they'll be able to recoup the value. They traded a pretty good prospect, Jake Eater, for Berger last offseason, last trade deadline, and I'm not sure they're going to be able to get someone as that good back this year, considering how he has performed. Maybe they'll hold on to him in the offseason, which is possible, but we'll have to see. You also have some other players. I think the biggest one is probably Jazz Chisholm. I'm not sure if the Marlins will trade him, but I think it's very possible. Chisholm provides a lot of versatility to a team, can play the outfield, of course can play the infield, and I think brings a lot of swagger and a lot of personality to a team that could use it. So it'll be very, very interesting to see if Chisholm does end up getting traded. I think if he does, that'll kind of be the nail in the coffin that, okay, it's all over for the Marlins. Another rebuild is coming. And it's just shocking how far the Marlins have fallen this year. I mean, the start they got off to was, of course, awful, but this is a team that made the playoffs last year. I mean, they were the surprise of the entire year last year. We were saying how good of a job Kingman was doing, how this young Marlins team was on the rise with the amount of young, good players they had. But really, it just has all fallen down in the past months. Now, a lot of that has to do with injury. Sandy Alcantara having Tommy John was the first big blow, I'd say. And then, of course, losing Yuri Perez to Tommy John as well was also a huge, crushing blow. But even so, this team before that with the offense was just doing so horrible. And when you look at them last year, it's just a shocking contrast of where they came from. So it is kind of crazy to think about how high they were in the baseball totem pole last year and how far they've fallen for this year. Really is something kind of crazy to think about, and just is something that I don't think anybody was expecting. So yeah, it's been overall crazy for this team, and yeah, they're gonna be very, very interesting to watch this trade deadline. Very interested to see, and just very excited to see what moves they end up making. I love the trade deadline. It's my favorite time of the baseball year, aside from the World Series. Very excited to live stream that day. We'll be doing a little bit of a more interactive show, talking about the trades as they do come in. And yeah, it's going to be kind of a trade deadline extravaganza. Very, very excited to do that with you guys. And then on my own, watching the trade deadline as well. Every single year, I've put on MLB Network's coverage and just watched it for 6-7 hours straight. I love the trade deadline. It's always very exciting for me. Always a very exciting time of the year. I hope you guys feel the same way. Very, very excited to see what happens this year. And I think there are going to be a lot of interesting players traded. And I think the Marlins are going to be the forefront of that. And we'll end up seeing who they get traded. I think Garcia being DFA'd is the first big domino to fall for this Marlins team. Definitely deserved it, but was surprised they ate the money on his contract. But we'll have to see who else is gone at the deadline this year for the Marlins. So, yeah, that was our third segment here, talking about the Miami Marlins and their decision to DFA outfielder Avisail Garcia. Moving into the fourth segment, which is going to be talking about Mark Vientos and his amazing start to the season for the Mets, and just talking about his impact on the team and just overall what he has done. So, yeah, we'll talk about that, and we'll see you after the break. So, thanks, and bye.